to the Purpose Podcast with Dr. Jazz, where I'm your host, Dr. Jazz, and we journey to purpose together. With me today, I have Mr. Curtis Jackson.
This is very formal. This is very formal. I'm like Dr. Jazz. Oh my God. But I'm happy to be here.
So
I'm
Curtis
happy
is
to be here.
before I was Dr. Jazz.
It's like, wow, Dr. Jazz, man.
I made it, Curtis.
You have made it. I'm proud of you, Jazz.
Thank you.
Dr. Jazz. I'm gonna call you Dr. Jazz this entire podcast.
That's so funny. Okay, let me introduce who we have with us today. Like I said, me and Curtis have known each other a long time. A long time.
Yeah. I don't even remember like when we first met, but I just know we've been knowing each other for like, I feel like we've just known of each other for so long. Excuse my wife for being girl, but
I
like,
can figure
yeah.
out like when we became anyway. I don't know. A long time. Almost more than 15 years at this point.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I raised Curtis. No, I'm joking. So Curtis is a PR professional, and he's the co-host of a great podcast called Rap Nerds, which I enjoy listening to because I am not up on pop culture, and then I listen to their podcast and I go look up the. So that's a really great podcast. I'll link information in the episode, and he also is a co-founder of the Ollie and James Dyson Project. It is a project working with kids in his hometown. We're both from small towns in Louisiana, and this is Curtis's way of giving back to those kids. So yeah,
Yep.
Curtis out here doing big things.
I'm trying hard.
Try hard.
Trying and failing,
You
but
don't believe
it's
in
all
failure.
good.
It's an experiment. You try it, didn't work. You try something else. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Also, Curtis lives in the COVID capital of the world, so pray for him.
Don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
I could guess what he did, and I would let that be.
Whatever. I'm out here in LA. But yeah, I'm happy to be on. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. I've been legit for the past like 2 weeks. I've been like, dang, like what does purpose mean to me? You know? So yeah, like I'm excited to come on.
That's great. So let's just jump in. What does purpose
Yeah.
mean to you, Curtis?
Man, what does purpose mean to me? So I don't know if this is cheating or not, but I kind of went back and listened to like a few of your older episodes.
No,
And
that's
I listened to your latest episode with your friend, the singer and the lady that's in real estate. And I like what everybody has, but I feel like everybody has said, but I feel like everybody's kind of like on this like grand scheme of purpose. And mine's is kind of grand scheme too, but I think it's just like being intentional
mm,
with everything, right? Like just even from like day-to-day choices, like just being purposeful in everything you do, just being intentional, and just because everything has meaning and everything's tied or connected to something bigger in a sense. So I think that's what purpose means to me. I finally came to that conclusion this morning. It may change though, but I can't say that
I think
conclusion
that's
this
okay.
morning.
So I actually, this season is starting with me answering all the questions. And one
Mhm.
of my friends, he actually interviewed me yesterday. And I struggled so much but I came, well, mine will come out before yours, obviously.
Mm.
But mine was similar to yours. Because I realized as we went through our conversation that like like I can't do this grand purpose.
Yeah.
I don't take
Everything's connected. I
yeah.
think over the past like year and a half, past 2 years,
Mhm.
from me moving out here to us, me and Amber having CJ, like I really honed down on that idea of like everything has a meaning, like everything has a purpose in a sense. And decisions have consequences. Like, right, like I'm kind of a weirdo in the fact like I listen out like, oh man, did it cut off?
No, I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Um, I'm a weirdo in the fact like I watch like Rick and Morty or whatever. Watch, I don't know if you know what Rick and Morty is. This
Yeah,
cartoon about like these alternate universes or whatever. So sometimes I get caught up in the ideas of like, what if what if I didn't do this?
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what I'm saying? Like what if I stayed in Atlanta? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like what would have happened or whatever. Like, but I think every decision, every meaning has a purpose. And I think when you're trying to live out your ultimate purpose in life, I think it boils down to those day to day, minute by minute choices and decisions that you make.
So give me an example, like in your life, of maybe you making a decision that does not equate to like your major purpose. Like, was there a
I
conflict?
it, I don't. I you know what? I've been thinking about that. Like I don't even know that. Like it maybe even boil down to like what I eat for the day, right? Like if I had this idea of like of what my body or what I want my body to look and feel like I'm eating a bowl of cereal right now. Like, should I just go ahead and order a salad with some
Right.
tomatoes? You know what I'm saying? Would that be better or whatever? Like, I think everything is tied down to the overall grand scheme and grand picture of your life. Like, even like, should I spend 15 to 20 minutes on the PlayStation 5 or should I spend those 15 to 20 minutes knocking out work?
You
You know
just
what I'm
want to
saying? Like,
say you had a PS5.
yeah, I did. I did. I kind of want the stunt there. I just kind of want the stunt there, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I
It
think
was great
everything,
for
yeah, I think everything has like a deeper meaning, and I hate to sound that deep or whatever. I feel like it's kind of lame, but
Mm-mm.
everything's kind of tied to to the big picture of things and how you ultimately want to live out your life.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'll take like a day-to-day thing right now. Like I'm trying to become more of a morning person. Like I hate mornings. Like hate them, loathe them. Like in Atlanta, I didn't wake up to like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Like,
That's crazy to me, but okay.
like that was the like I out here it's like it's kind of bad because like everything starts so I feel like you're behind on everything, right? Like, so I usually wake up at 7 o'clock. Everybody, all my friends are like, the day is going on with them or whatever. And then with CJ added into the
I was
mix,
about
he's up at like, yeah, he's up at like, 6:45, 6:30, 6:45 or whatever. So it's like, I just need to get up, get my feet on the ground and like, you know, just get my day started.
to.
So those decisions are made in the nighttime,
Yeah.
right? Like what I do, what time I go to bed or whatever. So I think everything has a purpose in that sense.
So I think my next question leading off of that is, do you believe that there's purpose in your missteps? So I don't want to say mistakes, but like, do
Hmm.
you think that even those things can contribute to the macro level purpose?
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. I think the biggest thing I've learned is that it's okay to fail, but when you're failing, make sure you're failing forward.
Mm,
In the sense that you're picking up and you're learning on things like okay, like this was wrong or whatever, but I see that I need to do X, Y, and Z wrong. I mean X, Y, and Z different. I think that's what makes like great basketball players or great football players so great. Like they're able to go back, what I'm saying, look at their work and not even marvel on like, oh, I did that so well. You know what I'm saying? Let me rewind this and show this to the world that I did this so well. It's like, no, like I need to hone in on this part of my game. Like this is a weakness or whatever. Like what can I do, to better my footwork here or do this better or whatever. So yeah, I believe that failing, and in a sense, failing can kind of motivate you as well, right? Like I think I've been I've been rejected um, a few times, and I felt like a failure. Um, and it's kind of lit a fire, like you said earlier, like it's kind of lit a fire to just be like, okay, let's just do something different.
yeah.
Like maybe this isn't it. Let's just do something different and let's just go all in. Or it can just be like, you know what? I'm not giving up. Like this is it. Like I'm just going to keep going until I get it. So yeah, I think failure can lead to your ultimate purpose as well.
So for those of us who are not like Curtis, because Curtis does not always push me forward. If I'm being honest, like I am a determined person, but I have
Mhm.
to want it. So if you tell me to do something, Curtis, and I don't care, and I fail at it, I'm kind of like, well, I
I
mean,
mean, but that's like, excuse me, but that's life though, right? Like sometimes I think you have to do stuff that you don't want to do.
yeah,
Like I hate this idea of like just do what makes you happy. Like that's bogus. Like that's, and yes, you should, quote unquote, air quotes, like, but like in life, life isn't fair. That was the first thing my dad taught me.
yeah,
Life ain't fair. You're gonna have to do some things that you don't want to do. And a lot of times, like you're gonna have to learn how to do those things really, really well in
yeah.
order to succeed. Um, so yeah, that's go ahead though. I'm sorry if I cut you
No,
off.
you're
Like,
fine.
you
I
go.
was just saying that for me. Like it just depends. So like we were mentioning this contract I just got that I
Mhm.
low key know nothing about. Uh, but like failing in that scenario, like I have to, figure out
Yeah.
how to do it correctly. And I just wonder like those moments are the things that you don't want to do, how do they contribute to your purpose? Because I'm even
Mm.
thinking about like your marriage to Amber, right? Like
Hmm.
you did it because it made you happy. Amber makes
Yeah.
you happy, but there are days when Amber's like, come on, let's do this, and you like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Um, I think in the grand scheme of things, you kind of have to take the positives out of it. Like I'll relate it to work. There's this exercise that comes, like this little project that we do at work that comes around every so often. We recycle it kind of like every other week or whatever. And whenever it lands on me, I hate it, loathe it. Like my first year doing it, like I was like terrible at it. But this year, I'm still not great at it. I've gotten better and I've seen improvements. But this year I've taken on the challenge, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of better in my writing in this sense, which, what I'm saying, like I need to be a better writer in order to get to that next level of my career. So, I should take this a little bit more serious or whatever. Like, okay, I'm looking into, now I'm tying it into things that I actually like to do at my previous job. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can take this, and now I can find my own voice and put it on this project. And it's kind of, working through that.
Yeah,
You just kind of have to take the positives out of it. And then as it relates to marriage, I would say you just have to kind of just, in the grand scheme of things, it makes you a better man. Um, Treating your wife right, eventually,
yeah,
your son's happy. You know what I'm saying? Happy wife, happy life is the same. But like it makes everything better. Like it really does make everything better. When you're treating your wife right and when you're treating your spouse right in general, that reverberates off your children. Your children are happy. Your children see that 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 godliness, that love, what I'm saying, that's coming from God, that shown or whatever and reflecting. They want more of that. And they go seeking out, eventually for that type of love when they want to find relationships. Hopefully that's far down the line for my son, but you know what I'm saying, but that it's kind of
now, Curtis.
but yeah, I mean, but that's my baby boy. But it's a cycle, right? Like it's a cycle. It's creating habits. Like um it's being purposeful in creating habits for your family, for future generations. Like one thing that one knock, I don't even say this a knock really, because there's a lot of factors that play into it, but the one thing that like people don't realize with the black family is that we're like this generation is kind of like, or our generation is kind of like that first step in like healing towards
Yes,
black families, right? Like it's kind of it's in one sense it's sad to see it take so long, but it's beautiful because it's breaking a lot of boundaries.
yes,
I mean, breaking a lot of like borders and chains and stuff like that, and we're able to move forward. Um, and you have to be purposeful in things like
yeah,
that, and that takes day to day stuff, minute by minute stuff, right? Like that may take like, hey, I need to text my mom today or
yeah,
whatever. Like, hey, let me, I want my whole, I want you, everybody says like, I want my family and stuff to be rich or whatever, I want my team to be rich. Hey, maybe that may mean like, hey, let me text I'm into stocks. Let me text my cousin like, hey, research this play. Like this may or may not work for you, but research this or whatever. It's just taking time to do like daily stuff and just being intentional in every action
Yeah.
that you have.
Yeah,
So
that's good. Uh, this is a tangent, but that black family thing is real. Like,
it is,
and
man.
I
It
was,
is.
yeah, and I was blessed that my parents did like I was, yeah, all that stuff, but it wasn't like nearly as bad as like my friends. When I met people in college, I was like, you baby,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that that's so real because even in the grand scheme of purpose, like having harmony, like the way you
Peace.
were raised, like all
Yep.
some of the stuff that I'm struggling with my purpose now is
Hmm.
based on, and I think my parents did a good job. Sidebar,
Hmm.
I think they did a great job raising me. But like some of the mindsets I'm having to break,
Yeah.
like when
I,
I'm in pursuit, yes.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you
No,
off. Go
that's
ahead.
it. Just in pursuit of my purpose, having to think like that was the way I was raised, but that it's not going to serve me
Hmm.
as I do this podcast, or it's not going
Hmm.
to serve me as I, build prosperity.
Yeah. So I wrote this earlier when I was listening to your latest episode on the last season because this is the new season.
It is a new season.
But I wrote this earlier. I said, walking in your purpose means that you're being intentional in every single decision that you make, big or small, tacos or salads. Every decision you make has a consequence. That's why we ask God to order our steps. That's what walking in your purpose means. Changing habits, like you were just saying, changing habits and unlearning behaviors.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the future while still being totally focused on what's going on now and how it affects others and potentially yourself. Um,
So you definitely stole mine. They're gonna hear mine before you, so they're gonna think that you heard me. But anyway, can you talk about that dichotomy? Because I think that's interesting. One of the things you said in your thing you just said,
uh,
thinking about the future while simultaneously being present in today. Like, how is that? How does that play out in your life? Because I think that's what I struggle with. Like, I always am like, how can I fix
so
today and not?
I think I'm kind of like I think I kind of have a cheat code in the sense that I work for a sports team.
Mm,
Um, so if you work in sports, if you play sports in general, you know that really like you have to be focused on like the day to day. Like you can't look too far ahead,
mhm,
right? Like you may know the schedule, you may know like, okay, on March 19th we playing the New York Knicks or whatever, right? But at the same time, you better be focused on tomorrow's game against the Portland Trailblazers,
right,
right? You know what I'm saying? Like, or you're gonna fail, you're gonna lose. Also, like being focused on the day to day and having, championship goals in
mhm,
a sense. Like championship teams do what the best. They focus on the day-to-day best. Like they control what they can control or whatever. Like they're not worried about outside factors or
mhm,
whatever. Like they're, you know, focus locked in at practice, focus locked in at on a training session, focus locked in on, working out or whatever. Focus locked in on, every single moment, every single play or whatever. And I think that's kind of how you have to take life. Um, and like I think like a lot of if you just read like a lot of the greats, like that's how they take stuff.
yeah,
Like they're not, they have, aspirations of being the greatest, but they know that they have to be locked in to the now,
yeah,
and know what's going on and be aware of what's going on. Um, Sometimes I think that takes now with like I think with like you talk about like athletes being great. I think that's it's kind of like a really selfish nature of being like just totally locked in, but that may just be their purpose to to inspire or whatever, and that may require some type of selfishness. But I think when you're talking about like just using your gifts or whatever to help others, um, you need to be focused on the now and just be worried about and also how it's affecting other people around you as well. And I think that speaks to like the political climate now, and everything. So yeah.
mhm. I didn't mean to make that face. It's just
No, but I mean it just speaks to where we are now. I don't think people are you know aware of others. Um, and I also think that's just a big, big when you talk about being, walking in your purpose or whatever. That's I think that's a being aware of others is a major factor or a major key.
Yeah, I think that I don't want to go down a political climate train, but I will say this. I think that it's difficult for me to process the thoughts that people have that they express that oppress me,
Mm.
especially when they feel as if they are God given, right? And it's just very interesting to see because they feel as if they're fulfilling their purpose, right? In these acts, in these whatever, they feel as if they're fulfilling a purpose. But it's interesting to me because it's like, but you don't see the harm you're doing. Like,
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
the question, I guess, is can when you're fully in your purpose, do you think there are people that will be harmed?
Um, so I play in me thinking in preparing myself for this episode. I also struggled with the notion of are there people out there whose sole purpose is to sow discord or to sow, what I'm saying, like
Mhm.
like some type of disruption in the mix of things or whatever. Um,
Like you don't know peace unless you've had trouble, or you don't.
yes, like in the sense of like, I mean, let's just talk about Donald Trump. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Let's talk about the past. Let's talk about how terrible the past 9 months have been.
Mhm. Go for
Um,
it. I mean, okay, yeah.
no, let's just go. Let's talk about how terrible the past 9 months have been. As a society,
Mhm.
um, if you step out of your day to day and step out of yourself for a minute, you'll kind of realize like maybe this in some instances this shone some lights on some things, right? Like this was maybe it wasn't all that bad because it exposed this, it exposed this, it got this MF out of office. You know what I'm saying? Like I think sometimes you have to step back and kind of be like, what are the positives out of this? And that's hard to do. I realize that, but
I don't want to misquote, but uh Rick Ross was on Shannon Sharp's little podcast thing he does.
Rick Ross has a quote. Rick Ross has a rap line that says, "I'm glad Donald Trump became the president because we got to expose it before we elevate."
That's what okay, so I didn't know it was one of his lines. I just saw it on my
Yep.
little feed
Yep.
when I was trying to find.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think and I agree with that. I had this argument about I ain't gonna tell you what I had this argument about because I don't want anyway, I don't want Curtis coming for me. But I had this argument about other things. This same argument. So I actually agree to some extent because I think it showed America who we really were. I
Hmm.
think that's we and I guess back to the vein of purpose, I guess there was purpose in it, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that was some like I just don't think your purpose is to harm me. But I do think that there was
It
purpose
may not. It may
in
not be the. It may not be to harm you per se. It may not be to harm you per se. And sometimes I think we have to stop looking at like. Sometimes I think we think just because it got hot a little bit that we got burnt. Does that make sense?
it does. Let me I'm gonna quote that somewhere.
Like and sometimes I think that we need to get burnt a little bit in order to learn. Like you can tell a baby as many times like, hey, stop doing that. It isn't until he pull that thing and it falls on his face or he hit, what I'm saying, he hits his head
Mhm,
that he learned I don't need to do that no more.
mhm.
Some people are just stubborn like that. Adults are just stubborn like that sometimes. So yeah,
So when
I
it
don't know.
comes to purpose, I just it's hard for me to be like that.
It's
So are you
Go
saying
ahead.
it's their okay? So these Donald Trump will use him.
If you're believing in if we're talking about the grand scheme, and I really think like when you talk about purpose, you kind of have to bring up like this spiritual side of it as well, right? Like that's you can't ignore that. Um if you're talking about quote unquote walking in your purpose and doing this thing and doing what you're called to be doing, you kind of have to talk about the spiritual side of it. So the spiritual side of it is good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's angels and there's demons out there in the world, right? Like there's people to they're out there to sow discord, right? All right, like there's people that that were in uh people in the Bible's lives to cause problems, to cause harm,
Yeah.
right? Like and it made them in instances it may have made them uncomfortable in that moment, but I don't think they were never harmed. And I think a lot of times we got to stop thinking just because we're uncomfortable, like just because we're stretching a little bit, like we're hurting. You ain't hurting. Like you're growing. Like you working that muscle. Like calm, like relax,
Yeah, no, that's
breathe.
good. And I guess going back to like just because it got hot doesn't mean we got burned. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. And I guess that yeah, that changes the way I think about these people who are meant to sow discord
Mm.
as their purpose. But I guess but it feels like a backdoor to purpose. Like I'm being helped, but I'm being helped through discomfort. I'm being helped through
What do you mean? How
because
are you being helped? What do you
I
mean?
feel like because we're in my brain, to me,
Mm.
everyone's purpose on this earth helps someone else in some way,
Okay.
whatever that is. So if this person's purpose is to sow discord, doesn't that feel like a backhanded way to help me?
Take
Because
you
I mean
take
I'm
you take
helped,
you
but
take help how you get it. You sound like them old rednecks. I don't want your welfare. You take help how you get it, right? If you need help, you take the help.
why you compare me to a redneck?
I'm just saying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm just
Like
saying, but I'm saying like a man who refuses help, like that's stupid. That's ignorant. That's.
I'm not saying that I'm refusing help. I'm
Mm,
saying it feels like backhanded help. I didn't say I didn't
mm,
take it. I'm just because I'm thinking to myself of all the lessons that CJ, baby
mm,
CJ, he could have
mm,
learned by just saying no, and he was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that.
mm.
That's one way to help. Like that, you cannot negate that is help just as helpful as the box of blocks falling on his face. They're
I
both
mean,
helpful.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
and it helps you get to your part. But I don't get what you said. Like, are you mad at the backhanded help?
I'm
Like, what are you saying?
not
Like,
mad at it. I'm just saying because when we think about the people who we believe's purpose is to sow discord, right? I just don't think that they're necessary. I think that I can learn lessons. I can learn why
I
my dad.
disagree. I disagree. You may be able to, not everybody else is. I disagree. I disagree. Some people need to fall on their face.
I mean,
A lot of people, huh?
I said, I mean, I'm a very stubborn person who learns from failing. So
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean, but
think,
some people need hard lessons in order to learn. Um, some people need to hit rock bottom
mm,
in order to learn. Like that's part of their, I wouldn't say that's part of their purpose is hitting rock bottom, but hitting rock bottom may have finally caused them to wake up and be like, hey, I need to change my day-to-day decisions, my minute-to-minute choices, right? Some people need that. Some
mhm.
people just be like, okay, I got it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like people are different. I
I be
think
doggone near drown to figure it out.
uh,
You gotta be like Desmond.
I need one good slap and then like one good firm slap, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, I got you. Like,
So like I was for Christmas or Thanksgiving, whatever. We were all together and she's one. She just turned one.
mm,
And she was trying to climb the stairs, and her mom was like, "Hey, like, get off the stairs with it work." Because at her house they have a gate. At my
mm,
cousin's house, there's not a gate. Okay. She takes her. She doesn't beat her, but taps her like, "Hey, chill out."
yeah.
My little cousin acts a fool. She cried. She act like the woman had beat her. Right? She acts a fool. She cries. She do all this stuff. But 5 minutes later, she on the stairwell.
Yeah.
Like it was like that moment of discomfort meant nothing to her. Like it was amazing to watch because I was like, that's gonna be my child, Lord help me. But second, I was like, and my cousin was like, it's so frustrating because I don't want to hit her. I don't want to be her. But it's like words don't nothing works because her
Yeah,
child is so if she want to get to the top of them stairs,
yeah,
like she may
she
wait.
will.
She is so smart. Like she'll wait till we all done left the room, and then and we're like, "Girl, your
Yeah.
mama about to beat you," you know. And it's just, and I'm saying all that to say, sometimes the lesson don't even work. So even
Yeah.
when it comes to purpose, like,
I mean, some people, and at that same time, like I think, you have to understand also that some people just refuse to walk in their purpose.
this
And
is
it's a sad reality, but um, sometimes hard lessons, sometimes falls,
yeah,
just doesn't get through to people,
yeah,
and they refuse to walk in their purpose. They refuse to make those necessary choices, and purpose, being walking in your purpose may not mean like being, what I'm saying, like the the best singer in the world. Like walking in your purpose just may mean like you the best singer in the choir stand at A&E Baptist Church with 150 people, and you know what I'm saying, like you inspiring like one or two people every Sunday, right? Like that may be your calling or whatever. Like I think some people need to, I don't want to say tone down expectations, but um I think sometimes people just need to step back and just be like, who am I?
yeah,
Like what makes me comfortable?
yeah.
Um and what can I also like, what makes me comfortable, and what can I also like do things or whatever to make me grow and make me uncomfortable a bit or whatever.
So that's a good segue to our next question. How did you get to your purpose? Let's tell us your journey.
Man,
I
my
was about to
journey.
call you by your middle name. So I don't know why. It just flowed out.
uh you know what? I think I'm still trying to find my ultimate purpose.
Okay.
Um I think that's still kind of a journey that I'm on. Um but along the way I think I'm picking up things that interest me, that I want to pursue, and I think that God is kind of pulling me towards. Um I may not see like the ultimate goal in it now, um, but I know that He's kind of ordering those steps. But I don't know my journey. What's my journey? Oh, is this like testimony part? I don't know.
You got these
Like
beforehand. Don't shut
you
up.
said, what now?
You
What
got
did you say?
these beforehand. Don't play.
I couldn't. I didn't hear your thing when I was sorry.
I said you got these questions beforehand. Don't play.
I did not. I listened to the episodes, but
I sent you a whole
I
email.
didn't read it, Jazz. I'm sorry. I was obviously, if I didn't even see your bio, I didn't read it.
Thought you just didn't send it back.
No, I didn't read it. I just accepted yes on the invite.
Well, now y'all know how my friends rock with me. Okay.
It's the spot. I like the spontaneity of it.
Well, here we go.
um, what's my journey? I mean, so I went to Morehouse. I think everything is kind of me just stepping out on faith. For me, going from small town Louisiana, Franklinton, Louisiana to Atlanta, which at the time what I thought was like big city jump,
Yeah.
right? Like coming from Franklinton. Um, I feel like that was just a huge step out on faith. Um, and even just everything up in there from me majoring in English, not really knowing what I wanted to do with it. Um, kind of thinking I wanted to be a lawyer, but also keeping that passion for sports and everything, and just doing that, and that kind of led to me, and it kind of led to my role now, because that me applying to this job where I had no experience whatsoever,
Yeah.
led to me getting this internship, summer internship, which led to me getting to another summer internship, which led to me getting to a full season internship, which led to me getting a full time job. Um, but everything I've done over the past over my life has just been, based on faith and just believing that God, will kind of clear the way for me.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's kind of my purpose in life is kind of I don't say I don't say inspiring people, but just like helping people away and serving people. Um, yeah, so I think that's my biggest or my ultimate goal in life, and that's what I pray for every day. It's kind of like to like how can I serve people? Like they say Jesus was the ultimate servant, right? So how can I serve people? How can I give back? How can I have a heart for giving back or whatever, a heart for giving? So I think that's kind of what I want my ultimate purpose to be is to be put in a spot uh, where I can show people like, hey, it's okay to step out on faith, like God will carry you. But you have to make the right decisions while you're stepping out on faith. Like that's a key caveat. Like a lot of people don't. A lot of people step out on faith.
What do you mean by that?
I think a lot of people will try to like step out on faith, but at the same time, I think they put themselves in bad positions. I think a lot of times, I think when we say God has blessings for us, and when we're fully walking in our purpose, I truly believe that. But I also believe that we have to do our part in order to fully receive everything that God has for us or whatever, right? Like, he may be keeping you afloat or whatever. That may be his blessing or whatever, but I'm sure he wants to do more.
Right.
Right. So maybe we should just manage our money better.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like maybe we should stop eating out. Maybe that may be, the few extra dollars that you need to buy. I don't know that studio mic that you need or that equipment that you need, right? Like I think everything, like I said, everything has, you know, a reverse effect. Everything has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think my ultimate goal is just to be put in a spot where I'm able to give back to people freely without even second thought of like how it will affect my
Mm.
me or my account or just anything in general. Like I'm
Yeah.
just able to be like, here you go.
Here you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kept saying that you kind of just did stuff by faith. So how do you relate faith to purpose for anyone in general?
Um, I think when you're making decisions, you have to have faith that this is better, that everything will be okay.
Okay.
Um, Especially like a lot of life changing decisions, right? Like, um, I'll take you back to what was this, a year and a half ago now, when me and my wife was moving from Atlanta to Los Angeles. Um, a lot of it was stepping out on faith. Like I had no idea, like what was going to happen out here. Uh, I just found out, my wife was pregnant. uh,
We didn't know what he was thinking either, y'all.
yeah, like it was like legit, like I can only imagine what my friends and my family was thinking when we finally told y'all Amber was pregnant. Like I'm pretty sure y'all was like, we knew Curtis was crazy, but that Negro is crazy.
All I kept saying, they're moving and they don't have no babysitters. They don't have no
And it was, you
that's
know what?
it.
It was legit. Like I'm thinking about it now, and I'm getting emotional. But like, it was legit. Like God will provide the
Yeah.
whole time, right? Like
I have a friend that says leap and the net will appear.
yeah, like it was legit like that. Like the whole time, I think on the last episode, I heard your friend talk about oh man, what did she say? I can't even think what she said. What she talked about. Oh, I didn't just slip my mind like that. I'm so sorry. But no, anyway, like I think like confirmation. She talked about confirmation. And she said that a lot of times you don't need other people to confirm what God, or she didn't say it like this, but a lot of times you don't need to, other people to confirm what God has already told you.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I think that whole process leading up to it, like, I think I had a talk with God and I had to talk with God. Funny story. Nipsey Hussle's death is kind of like, I feel like what kicked this whole whole like transformation off of me because it was like a whole like 6 7 month process of like failing, getting knocked down, being frustrated, getting back up, you know, going at it again full charge,
Yeah.
getting knocked down again,
Yeah.
dusting myself off, and then being like, all right, I'm going at it again. You know what I'm saying? Like this is it.
Mhm.
This is the day. Like I'm gonna bust through. Um, and I got punched in my face again.
Right.
And it was that moment where I was like, all right, God, I did it your way for the past 4 months. I'm done. Like I'm
God, right.
done. I'm fed up. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm done. And I think for a moment I had to take a step back and be like, well, like I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Um, I remember taking like I tell you the story. Basically that third and final time I went up for my like a promotion in a sense, and basically my boss told me like not knowing the way, but like we don't have room. Like I don't see it in your future for I
Oh,
don't see it in the foreseeable future. Not in the bad, not in the negative way, not in the negative way, but in the grand schemes of like there's no space,
got it.
right? Like there's no space. I don't think or whatever. Um, and I don't think that's what I want. And I think he was trying to also portray like, hey, maybe you know your next opportunity is maybe it's not here, but it's somewhere else or whatever. And I think in that moment I was just too bullish or bullheaded to hear that. So in that moment, frustrated, and I'll be honest, I cursed God. I cursed God in a
That's real.
sense. That probably was a bad decision in that moment. But I was frustrated. I was mad. And I
He
think
understands that, so
yeah, and I think I built that relationship up with God so he lets me let off my frustrations every now and then.
yeah. He created
Um,
this. Okay.
yeah. So I remember this specifically. It happened on a Thursday. Happened on a Thursday morning. We had a game, flew back to Atlanta. Friday morning, got home, and we were flying to New Orleans for my friend's wedding. Um, Flying standby. Shout out to my brother, my guy brother Aaron. Uh, we were flying standby, and we were supposed to be flying standby from Atlanta to New Orleans. Missed our flight, which was like everything was just falling apart at that moment. I was just like, my wife was. Remember I got into an argument with my wife, and it was like everything was like, this is not it. Like, whatever, God, like forget you, dude. um, but we got on for finally we eventually got on the flight, and we had to fly to Biloxi, Mississippi. And we
It
had to wait.
got bad.
Yeah, and we had to wait an hour and a half after our flight landed for my mom to come pick us up from the airport. And in that hour and a half wait, I was applying for jobs. And as soon as my mom pulled up, I got a text from my current job now, or my current boss now, asking me if I was still interested in the job I applied to back in May, and this was September.
Yeah.
So this like kicked everything off. So I say that all this to say like it's just being purposeful in everything and just kind of believing that. I mean, eventually I lost faith,
Yeah.
but I still kind of believe that God had better for me. Eventually, I calmed down and I talked to God and I apologized. But it's just believing that God has something better for you, and that reverberates in everything that you do.
Yeah.
Uh, so
That's good.
yeah.
So what I hear is that although your faith waned at some point, but you felt because of what you said towards the end was, I knew there was something like else. So in the
Mhm,
pursuit of purpose, like, do you think that everyone has that? Whether because you said earlier, like you can know your purpose and not, actively reject it. Do you think
mhm.
there's something in everyone? Because like I just like the way you said you was like, no, like I just knew, like I knew
I
that this.
think people know. I think people know. I think everybody knows, right? Like, um, everybody knows, but it's a matter of like whether you're willing to make those decisions, those choices, and sometimes like step out on faith. Like I think everybody has called to a bigger purpose.
Mhm.
Um, but I think those opportunities come around in a lifetime or once every so often. And I think it's like sometimes we may build up, we may build up good equity with ourselves, with God, and God's like, hey, here you go. This is it. This is what you've been praying for, brother, sister.
Hmm.
Everything you've been praying for. And I think this is the situation going back. I think this is the situation with me. It was like, hey man, this is everything you've been praying for, man. Like I got it all set up for you.
Yeah.
You probably can't see it now. You just got to step out on faith and
Yeah.
accept what I'm offering you. And I think a lot of times people reject that because they're too scared.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I think that and I think when you talk about people not living out their full purpose in life, I think that's what happens. They're too scared. They're scared to step out on faith.
So how did you get over that with this? Because again, y'all, we thought he was crazy. Okay, I love Curtis. But only reason I thought you were crazy was because of Amber's pregnancy, not
Mhm.
because I thought that moving to California was
I
crazy.
mean, I knew that was a big. I knew that was like that was like the you holding the big joker in your hand or whatever.
Yeah.
I knew soon as that dropped, everybody's opinion on the move was gonna like instantly change, right?
Yeah.
But it was I
Sidebar:
don't know,
Curtis
but
from Louisiana, Amber from Chicago, which ain't nowhere near California. Okay, keep going.
it, and I, like the whole time it was set like God was telling me like I'm gonna provide.
Yeah,
Like this is what I remember praying like for that whole period of time. Like God, I just want you to provide.
yeah,
I just want you to provide. Um, and He made provisions through that whole period. Like right in the instant you think about like, yeah, I'm going to work, I'm paying my rent, whatever, this, that, and the third. But in that same instance, God's providing. Like right, um, but I think this is just the ultimate step. Like, hey, like if you really trust me to provide, this is it.
and is that how you
Um,
got over your fear?
I don't know. Yeah, I think legit. I just had to. I don't know. Eventually, you just got to make the decision for yourself,
Mm,
right? Like you can have all the confirmation in the world, but eventually, you still got to make the decision for yourself.
yeah. If you don't just because you could have decided, oh, Amber's pregnant, let me stay where I'm
People,
community.
and you know what? And a lot of times, and a lot of the advice I was seeking was from people that did not know that Amber was pregnant,
Hmm.
right? So it was kind of like, and at the same time, I think God was telling me not to disclose that information because it may have jaded
Yeah,
their opinion
yeah,
on the move.
yeah,
Um, but made the leap.
yeah,
What? And everything was laid out for us. Like, right? Like, my wife found a job 2 months, not even a 2 month. I don't think 2 months into, her moving out here or whatever. My son was born happy and healthy. And like we go back to talking about like terrible things, looking at positive, the positives and
yeah,
terrible things. I've got to spend the past 8 months with my son every single
yeah,
day.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Blessing.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
huge blessing, right? Like, and I think about if I'd have stayed in Atlanta, I probably would have been going to work. I probably would have to travel.
yeah.
Probably been exposed to different things because
Mhm.
y'all is wild out there. It's the wild east out there.
Mhm.
um,
Again, COVID capital. Don't do it.
um, that I think that I was just rewarded by just being purposeful in every decision that I made um, through that time. And it's kind of like right now I feel like I've and my Uncle Richard, shout out to Uncle Richard, back to Aaron's dad. He always talk about building your bank, right? Like, building your bank so you're able to, when it's time to, cash that check or whatever, or I mean take out that money or whatever,
Yeah,
it's there. Um, so I think I built that equity with God, and he was able to, reward me with it. And now I just feel like I'm right back trying to build that equity with God, just trying to be purposeful in every decision that I made. Um, you know what? Sidebar. There's two moments that I remember the most. Like, there are moments I've always remember, like having intimate moments with God. But there was one moment, I don't know if you remember this. We were at church. I don't even know what was happening, but I remember you telling me that God was proud of me. And I was like, and that made me cry. And I was like, wow, like me being purposeful in every decision, like like I may have failed time to time or whatever, but I think like me being, intentional in every decision that I made is like paying off or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
dope.
yeah.
Cool. So your intentionality. I think that's interesting that you. I don't know why I keep harping on this, but like you have to choose your purpose. And even when I said like, how did you get over your fear? You're just like I had to choose to do that. And I think for our listeners that are afraid to hop on your purpose or afraid to go forward, like you have to choose it.
Hmm.
I think you can actively say, this is the thing that's right in front of me, but I'm not gonna chase it.
Yeah.
Not, and I think going back to what we talked about earlier, it's gonna get hot, but you may not get burned.
Hmm.
And I think when it comes to our purpose, like it got hot. I know there was some days when you and Amber was like, "We CJ, I love you, but baby, if we had a grandma, that we can,
Yeah, yeah.
you know."
But I,
But God provided through those times, right? Like, and
mhm.
I think it got hot, but
Yeah,
you
we didn't get burnt at all. Yeah.
and in your leap there was a net that appeared, and I just want to encourage my listeners that are like, yeah, that worked for courage, but I ain't moving across the country, but
It may not even be moving across the country, but it may just be, moving to a different job or whatever, taking a
yeah,
different position, moving into a different career field or whatever, right? Like going back to school. You just gotta take the leap. Like I mean, unless it's a life or death situation, what's the worst that can happen? Um, yeah, like sometimes you just gotta jump out on faith. A lot of times you just gotta jump out on faith
yeah,
and believe that God will carry you, like your friend said, like believe that net will appear.
yeah, it'll show up somehow.
Hmm.
uh and one of the well, you say you're kind of still trying to figure it out, but one of the last questions I always ask is, what is your purpose? If you're still trying to figure out, that's cool. But if you have an answer, that's cool too.
Like I said, I think my purpose is ultimately just giving back and just being
Yeah,
a servant in any way possible.
yeah. Which
Um,
makes sense for the Ollie and James Dyson project, because you'll be giving
mhm.
back to kids
Yeah,
that grew up similar to you.
yeah.
And then my last question is always, if we get nothing else out of this episode, what do you want people to leave with? We talk about a lot of stuff, so
Um, just be purposeful in everything that you do. Be intentional in everything that you do. Um, like I feel like I learned that from Kobe Bryant, like watching, listening to Kobe talk, right? Like watching Michael Jordan play or something like that. Like those greats are just they're intentional with everything that they do.
yeah,
Um, not to disclose who or what I work for, but there's this player on our team, and he's one of the best in the league. Um, and I love watching him work out.
mm,
Like I love like I'll go and just sit and watch him work out because his workouts are basically game movements.
mm,
Like he's practicing for the game.
yeah,
He's preparing himself. He's preparing his body. He's preparing his mind
yeah,
for the game. Like he's being purposeful in everything that he's doing. Even like at the speed he's moving, right? Like even the way that like his dummy defenders are moving at him. Like everything's purposeful. So I think take anything else from me. Just be purposeful and intentional in every decision that you make. Every decision that you make has a consequence.
yeah.
Like you wasting 5 minutes on this could be spent doing, 5 minutes, doing something else. And I'm speaking to myself as well because I need to get better at that.
Me too, yeah.
Um, but yeah,
That's because
that's.
you just got that PS5 that you're not.
I
No,
haven't played. I haven't played it in 2 days, so I'm like itching to play it. But I've been purposeful in my decisions and knocking out work. But yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you mentioned Kobe, because not to start a whole other conversation, but not right after he died, but maybe like 6 months ago, I was sitting. The girl whose last podcast, I was sitting at her house, and we were like, let's just look up Kobe videos. Like, let's just see, because we're
It's
not
so
really.
motivational, man.
No, it really was. basketball people at
You
all.
know, you know what? You don't even have to be a basketball person. It's interesting because Amber, my wife, is into like basketball because of Kobe now. Like she was
Yeah,
watching like one of his detail on ESPN or whatever, and the way he broke down every single play, she was like, "That's so interesting." But
yeah.
no, if you get a chance, watch Muse on Showtime.
Okay.
There's two movies that I watch when I need to be like inspired.
Mhm.
If I need to be inspired like creatively, I watch The Last Dragon. Um, and if I need to be inspired, like just inspired overall, I watch Muse by Kobe Bryant. It's on
Okay.
Showtime. It's amazing. So
The
yeah,
Last Dragon and Muse. I'm gonna go look up both of them.
you
Cause
may not like The Last Dragon. Into the Last Dragon. You ever seen Last Dragon?
no,
It's like a black kung fu movie, but
I might
it's
like
it is from the '80s. So
it. I
okay,
might like it. I'll
I
let
don't
you
think you like
know. I'll let you know. I might be
it.
watching like, what the heck this guy got me watching.
Yeah, I don't think you may not like The Last Dragon. That's what my moniker Leroy Green comes from.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Well, I'm gonna watch it anyway, and I'm probably gonna tell you I liked it just to prove to you that I
you
liked
don't have to lie to me. No, don't lie to
I
me.
liked it. But yeah, Kobe definitely. I don't know. We just went on like this 30, 40 minute binge of like all these YouTube clips of like just him talking and like listening. I was like, bro, like this is dope. And I
Kobe was the
didn't watch
man,
The
man.
Last Dance at all. Is that what it's called? The Last Dance?
No, The Last Dragon.
No, Michael Jordan.
Oh, oh, The Last Dance. I thought you were talking about the document. Yeah, The
The,
Last Dance, the
I didn't
Michael Jordan
watch The
documentary.
Last Dance, but the clips that I saw, even that, I was like, bro, like this man was focused. Like
They were.
he didn't care about no friends. He did not care about.
I mean, like I said earlier, it was kind of like a selfish thing of them to be so hyper focused, right,
Yeah,
on their craft. But at the same time, I think they were living out their purpose. They were doing the day to day things that helped them live out their, I want to say their ultimate calling or whatever, is just to inspire people, and I think that's what they did.
yeah. I was inspired. I need to go watch some more stuff tonight so I could be re-inspired to do better.
Telling you, go watch Muse. Muse is about Kobe tearing his when he's later in his career. I think this is like his one of his first documentaries that he directed or whatever. Um, but he is later in his career he tore his not his ACL but his
The tendon.
yeah, Achilles tendon,
That
Achilles tendon.
I'm touching
Um,
like you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, and usually unless you're Kevin Durant and you're just the unicorn, that kind of signals the end of your career, especially how old Kobe was. So that just it documents him just battling through that and trying to come back from that.
Yeah,
And it talks about his life and all the battles that he's just tried to bounce back from his life and bad decisions that he's made as well, and how that affected his life and other people. It may have derailed his calling.
mm,
Um, just what I'm saying, like that may have derailed his calling, his life, and his family.
yeah,
Um, so it talks about all that, and I think if you watch stuff like that, you're like very aware of like, okay, every decision that I make needs to be
yeah.
the right one. It may not be the right one, but you're aware that it needs to be the right one.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about our tangent, y'all, but we're gonna keep it in.
I tried to relate it back to the
No, we
purpose.
did. My fault. I brought up Kobe. Thank you, Curtis, for being here. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Let me say my Instagram name right. It's you can find me on Instagram, Leroy Green the third. It's all spelled out, Leroy Green, the third. Um, yeah, follow me there, or you can follow our Rap Nerds podcast. Pull that up at Rap Nerds underscore MSG on Instagram. It's Rap Nerds underscore MSG on Instagram. Oh
Oh,
yeah, and just subscribe to the Rap Nerds podcast as well.
you definitely should. It's good. Totally different than this one. That is really good. I enjoy it. Like I said, it makes me feel relevant when I when I listen to it. But anyway, thank you, Curtis, for being here. Tell Amber I said hello.
I
And
will.
I still
Me
sidebar.
and Curtis began to talk about how cute his son is and all this other stuff, so I'll spare you all of that. But as usual, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.